Despite having an amazing first date, Bea and Ben's initial attraction quickly turns sour. When they unexpectedly find themselves at a wedding, the pair pretend to be the perfect couple, but things take an unexpected turn. The movie begins with a young woman named Bea entering a coffee shop and requesting to use the restroom. However, the barista informs her that the restroom is reserved for customers only. In order to gain access to the restroom, Bea decided to buy a bread item. Unfortunately, even to make the purchase, the staff insisted that she pay first. Being in a rush, Bea didn't have time to wait in the cashier's queue. At that moment, a stranger named Ben stepped in to help her. He tried to persuade the staff that Bea was his wife and that he is purchasing something for her, allowing her to use the restroom. Grateful for Ben's assistance, Bea thanked him and left her coat with him as she headed to the restroom. Overjoyed by her encounter with a handsome man, Bea couldn't resist sharing her experience with a friend over the phone. However, in her excitement, she accidentally wets her pants due to a malfunctioning sink. Consequently, she spends some time trying to dry herself off before finally emerging. Meanwhile, Ben became concerned about the situation in the bathroom and wanted to make sure Bea was okay. He waited for her outside and confirmed that she was fine when she emerged from the bathroom. The timing worked out perfectly, and the two of them resumed their interaction as Bea is about to leave the coffee shop. Ben calls out to her, pointing out that she has a toilet seat cover stuck to her shoe. Bea, mistakenly believing that Ben is about to ask her out, anticipates a romantic invitation from him. To save face, Ben seizes the opportunity and indeed asks her out. Ben and Bea spend the entire day together. The timing worked out perfectly, and the two of them resumed their interaction. During their first date, Bea revealed that she had been a gymnast for 5 years, while Ben shared that he had been a trader. After their date, they were spotted together in an apartment. Ben prepared toast for Bea, and they spent the evening sharing stories. Continuing late into the night, Bea, who had developed feelings for Ben, fell asleep in his arms that night. The following morning, Bea woke up before Ben and slowly moved his arm away from her body. Without saying goodbye, she quietly left. Ben, upon waking up and realizing that Bea had left, tried to carry on with his usual daily activities. Shortly after, Pete, Ben's co-worker, arrived at Ben's apartment, which also served as their workplace. Pete was surprised to find Ben cooking, perhaps expecting to find Bea there. In the meantime, a woman is sharing her story about meeting a person named Ben with her friend over the phone. She is initially very excited about the encounter, but her excitement is short-lived when she accidentally overhears Ben talking to someone named Pete, referring to her as a disaster and that he couldn't wait to get rid of her, causing Bea immense hurt. Fast forward 6 months. Ben and Pete meet up with Pete's sister Claudia and her girlfriend Hal. Hal introduces her younger sister, who turns out to be Bea. Awkwardness ensues as both friend groups have heard about the unpleasant encounter between Ben and Bea. Around a year later, Claudia and Hai get married, with Pete acting as the wedding priest. Claudia's parents decide to celebrate the wedding in Australia and invite everyone, including Ben and Bea. When Ben realizes that Bea's on the same flight, he goes over to her seat to playfully tease her. He asks why she didn't bring her fiancé, only to discover that it was a lie. A few moments later, their plane takes off. During the flight, Bea attempts to go to the restroom and accidentally walks into the first-class cabin. There, she finds the bathroom, but a man enters before her. While in the first-class cabin, she notices that Ben's seat is in front of her. In an attempt to playfully provoke him, she tries to steal the cookies placed in front of him. However, her clothes get stuck in Ben's seat, leaving her unable to move. She has no choice but to remove her clothes in order to free herself and change her position. After successfully resolving the situation, Bea eavesdrops on the music that Ben is listening to. As the group arrives in Sydney, they are introduced to Bea and Hal's parents, Leo and Imnai, as well as Pete and Claudia's mother, Carol, and their stepfather. While walking towards the beach, Bea advised Ben to keep his distance from her. Claudia intervened, urging both of them to mature and let go of the past. It is during this time that Ben spots his ex-partner, Margaret, who happens to be Pete and Claudia's cousin. Meanwhile, Ben was reminiscing and looking at photos from his past when he was still dating Margaret. As Bea and Hai conversed about their parents, they saw Ben with Margaret. Naturally, Bea inquired about Margaret's identity, and Hai shared the story of their past relationship with Ben, explaining that they had once dated but things didn't work out. To their surprise, Ben and Margaret approached them, with Beau now being Margaret's boyfriend. As the night progresses, the group comes together for a dinner party. Ben and Bea got ready and joined their friends. Claudia's father delivered a speech, followed by a spectacular fireworks display. They all sat down to enjoy their meal, and one of Claudia's friends suggested playing a game. The game involved guessing the object chosen by their opponent.
When it was Ben's turn to play, he used objects that Bea believed were not fair, accusing him of cheating. This led to an argument between them, and in the heat of the moment, they accidentally set a flower bouquet on fire. Fortunately, Margaret acted quickly and used her clothes to extinguish the fire, averting any serious damage. Following the incident, Claudia's friends and Pete's family gathered, brainstorming an idea to bring Ben and Bea back together.
The next morning, Ben, who had been engaging in light exercise on the beach, returned home to shower. Pete and Roger, taking the opportunity, initiated their plan. They both attempted to influence Ben to resume dating Bea. Sensing their peculiar behavior, Ben secretly observed their actions. He then approached Bea, who was busy preparing food, while Claudia and Hai also tried to sway her opinion. However, their efforts proved unsuccessful as Ben and Bea were aware of their intentions. In the midst of their conversation, Claudia's mother interrupted, requesting both of them to retrieve Roger's sunglasses that he had left on the boat. Both of them decided to swim towards the boat in order to retrieve what they needed. When they reached the boat, Bea initiated a conversation with Ben about the enjoyable time they had shared the previous night. Bea also noticed her parents bringing Jonathan along, but she no longer had any feelings for him. She urged Ben to publicly acknowledge her as his girlfriend to keep Jonathan away from her and to avoid any unwanted advances from him. They agreed to go along with the plan and return to the house, acting as if they had reconciled. The swift reconciliation between Ben and Bea surprised everyone, including Bea's ex-boyfriend Jonathan. While Bea managed to break Jonathan's heart, her parents weren't particularly pleased with the situation. Ben and Bea then joined Claudia's group and headed to a scenic spot in the middle of the forest. However, their argument continued, with Bea believing that Ben wasn't the right man for her due to his reputation as a player. Upon reaching the edge of a cliff, Ben and Bea attempted to convince those around them that they were in a romantic relationship. Ben even asked if he could hold Bea's butt, and she reciprocated. Meanwhile, Pete was captivated by a koala hanging from a tree and munching on leaves. He found the sight fascinating as Ben and Bea continued their intimate act. Bea discovered a spider crawling out from under Ben's trousers. She reacted swiftly, prompting Ben to remove all of his clothing to check if there were any more spiders on his body. In a humorous turn of events, Ben ended up wearing Bea's pants as they made their way back to the house. At the house, Bea's father was seen attempting to learn how to properly jump into the swimming pool, but he was struggling. Ben noticed this and approached Bea's father to offer his assistance, teaching him the correct technique for jumping. Bea, who had been observing from behind the wall, intervened at the right moment, pretending to be intimate with Ben as her boyfriend in front of her parents. After receiving support from their parents, Ben and Bea casually walked into the house. Claudia, Hai, and Pete noticed that Bea was once again questioning Ben, specifically about his conversation with Pete regarding the night they spent together. Ben assured Bea that the conversation held no significance for him and apologized to her. Later on, Jonathan and Bea engaged in a game of giant chess. Jonathan took the opportunity to ask Bea when she had met Ben. Bea admitted that she hadn't known Ben for very long. Jonathan revealed that he had come to Australia due to an invitation from Bea's parents, but he was unaware of the current situation. Bea didn't question Jonathan's statement, considering him to be a part of the family. Meanwhile, Ben, who was relaxing with Margaret, discovered that Margaret believed Bea to be his girlfriend. This prompted Ben to immediately approach Bea to discuss the matter. Ben expressed his desire to take their relationship to the next level, but Bea advised him to exercise self-control. That night, they attended a party on a large yacht and once again had to act to convince everyone present. When the DJ played music, Ben asked Bea to dance, and they both thoroughly enjoyed dancing together. In an attempt to show off to everyone on the yacht, Bea and Ben even reenacted the iconic Titanic scene. However, a small accident occurred as they tried to step down, causing Bea to slip and fall into the sea. Without hesitation, Ben spontaneously jumped into the water to rescue her. Their friends on the yacht informed the ship's captain about the situation, urging them to save both Ben and Bea. Unfortunately, the ship couldn't turn around due to the shallow water, so they had to await assistance from the Coast Guard. They observed Bea and Ben floating in the water for a while before the Coast Guard finally arrived to rescue them. Despite the uncomfortable situation, Bea and Ben appeared to have a romantic aura around them. After returning home, they continued their passionate romance. Both of them expressed their desires and affection for each other that night. The following day was Claudia and Hi's wedding day. Pete invited Ben to accompany him to buy flowers. During their conversation, Pete inquired about the seriousness of Ben's relationship with Bea. However, Ben responded pessimistically, which led Pete to playfully slap Ben's face with the flowers. Pete urged Ben not to shy away from him and stop being labeled as a player. Meanwhile, Bea and Margaret were at the cake shop. In a moment of accidental honesty, Bea confessed to Margaret that she wasn't truly serious about her relationship with Ben. Upon hearing this, Margaret asked Bea for permission to approach Ben. Bea agreed to Margaret's request. After returning home with the wedding cake, Bea has broken up with her fiancé, Jonathan, and has also made the difficult decision to leave law school without telling anyone. Bea suspected that Ben had informed them about this matter. At the same time, Ben arrived with flowers for Bea, but she scolded him. Pete confessed that he was the one who had informed Bea's parents about their relationship, which further fueled the ongoing fight between Bea and Ben. Bea also admitted that she wasn't actually dating Ben. However, despite the incident, it didn't stop the wedding party for Claudia and Hi. Everyone, including Ben, Bea, and the parents of Claudia and Hi, was busy preparing for the wedding ceremony. During this time, Ben overheard Claudia blaming him and Bea for ruining their wedding. Claudia confessed that she was under a lot of stress. Ben, upon meeting Bea, seemed indifferent towards her. He no longer wanted to put on a facade in front of everyone. During the wedding ceremony, Ben couldn't help but look at Bea, but she seemed unaffected by his gaze. They kept their distance from each other until the ceremony concluded. Bea, who was engaged in a conversation with Claudia and Hi, witnessed Margaret kissing Ben. Feeling jealous and heartbroken, Bea made the decision to leave the party. She hailed an Uber and departed for an undisclosed location. It took a moment for Ben to realize what had just happened to Bea. Pete and Roger attempted to tease him, but Ben told them to stop. After seeking advice from everyone, Ben made up his mind to find Bea. He eventually deduced that she might be near the Opera House. Without wasting any more time, Ben instructed his friend to call the Coast Guard. He courageously jumped into the sea and awaited rescue by the Coast Guard, requesting to be dropped off at the Opera House. Bea, who was alone at the Opera House, was overjoyed when she saw Ben approaching her. Finally, the two of them were reunited.